Hey man, this video is gonna show you 4 simple techniques that you can use to get great sounding mixes without the need for expensive acoustic treatment. And don't worry, these techniques are easy enough that anyone can do it using the studio gear that you already own. Let's get it. What up, audio engineers, producers, and music enthusiasts? I'm Wavy Wayne from WavyProAudio.com. Visit WavyProAudio.com after you watch this video to get plugged on all of your studio gear. Now, before y'all start with the finger warriors, let me start by saying I ain't never say that acoustic treatment was not needed at all. Acoustic treatment is the best way to ensure that you have an accurate monitoring environment, which is super crucial to being able to trust what you're hearing coming out of your studio monitors and make important mixing decisions. But unfortunately, studio acoustic treatment can be kind of expensive. And if you decide to make it yourself, it could be a little time consuming and require some tools that you just may not have. Maybe even you maxed out your budget on those expensive studio monitors, or you live in an apartment where you just can't be hanging stuff on the walls. Well, either way it goes, I'm gonna show y'all how you can work around that situation and still be able to produce great mixes, even with minimal or no acoustic treatment. First, let's address probably the most obvious solution, and that's going to be to use a pair of headphones. Now, these should be a quality pair of studio headphones that you know and trust. But you shouldn't just be using headphones that you only use in the studio. Use a pair of headphones that you actually enjoy listening to music in. This will ensure that you understand the frequency response of these headphones, and you can again make those good mixing decisions. Get to know the headphones, listen to music on them before you start mixing on them. Now, a lot of people would recommend open back headphones. For me, I like to use closed back headphones, but the most important thing is that you know and understand what's happening in your headphones. Yes, open back headphones can provide a more realistic open soundstage, similar to what you would have if you had studio monitors playing out in the room. But using closed back headphones can still provide you a great mixing experience, especially if you know and understand what's happening in the headphones. Another benefit to mixing through headphones is that you can literally take your studio anywhere you go. If I get used to and comfortable with mixing in headphones, well, then I could be mixing anywhere in the world and have the same results. So headphones is a really good option, and don't overlook it when it comes to mixing, especially if you don't have the most perfectly acoustically treated room. There are also some plugins like the Immerse Virtual Studio from Embody, which will allow you to emulate being in studio situations right through your headphones. You can actually immerse yourself in a famous studio. So instead of you worrying about treating your room with acoustic treatment, you could maybe invest in one of these plugins like the Immerse Virtual Studio and virtually mix in some of the best studios in the world. Have you ever noticed that our ears are more sensitive to some sounds over others? As humans, we just don't perceive every pitch to be the same loudness, even if it is the same volume. The Fletcher-Munson equal loudness contours demonstrates that not all pitches sound the same loudness at different volumes. Our ears are most sensitive to frequencies at about the 4 kilohertz range and less sensitive to frequencies lower than that and higher than that at the same level. Think about this. The human hearing range goes from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Anything above 20,000 hertz can be playing at the same level as something at 1,000 hertz, but because our human hearing is not sensitive to those frequencies, we don't perceive them to be as loud, or we just don't perceive them at all. The same thing happens to frequencies that are within our hearing spectrum. We don't hear them all the same, even if they are at the same volume. A solution for this is to monitor at about 85 dB. Now, at 85 dB, this will provide about the flattest frequency response across the human hearing spectrum. Now, I recommend that you actually do most of your mixing at about that 85 dB mark. How will you know if you're mixing at 85 dB? You could use an SPL meter. You can find them online on Amazon, wherever you shop, right? Or you could just download an app. Now, the app may not be the most accurate, but it will give you a really good idea of how loud you're listening. For example, an average human conversation is about 60 to 65 dB. So a little bit louder than that at 85 dB is generally the sweet spot for having the flattest frequency response as you are monitoring, so that the low frequencies sound as close to as possible as the high and the mid frequencies based on the way that our human ears perceive frequencies at different loudness. Whenever you're focusing on the bottom of your mix, the low end, the 808s and the kicks and bass, you're probably going to want to turn up even louder than that 85 dB so you can really push some air through those speakers and subwoofers and feel that low end to make some accurate decisions. But don't mix at that level for too long, because exposure to loud sounds over a long period of time can obviously, for one, cause hearing damage that could be permanent, but also just fatigue your ears faster, so you won't be able to mix for as long that day before your ears get fatigued, and then you aren't making the best mixing decisions. There are also some benefits for mixing at lower levels, lower than 85 dB too. For one, you'll be able to save your ears from ear fatigue and mix a lot longer. You'll also be able to notice if things are unbalanced in your mix. When you're mixing pretty quietly, things that are like too loud or too quiet, it really tends to poke out and become very obvious. But when you mixing really loud, well, the balance of your mix, everything just starts kind of blur together. The other benefit and the big payoff for mixing at lower levels is, guess what? The lower that you're mixing, the more of the room acoustics you are taking out of the equation, right? So again, if I'm mixing really loud, then we got a lot of energy bouncing all around the room, and the room acoustics, if it's not absorbing or diffusing that sound pressure, then it's going to bounce back to me, and I'll be able to hear that again, causing phase interruption and all kinds of problems that I don't want to deal with. And it also will it will also impair my ability to make good mixing decisions. But mixing at lower levels in an untreated room will ultimately take a lot of the room acoustics out of the picture, so you don't even have to worry about it. So ultimately, mixing at quieter levels in an untreated studio environment will serve you better. But I definitely recommend that you vary the volume. Sometimes you mixing quietly, sometimes you mixing in the middle, about 85 dB, sometimes you mixing a little bit louder, so that you can get the most from all of the different levels and really make an accurate mixing decision. Now, I'm sure you've heard of engineers doing the infamous car test. They bounce down their mix, run out to the car, listen to what the car's telling them about the mix, come in, make some changes, bring up the bass, bring the vocals up, go back, listen to what the car's telling them again, and then they just running back and forth with this whole cycle. Now, what I say to that is that if you trust what the car is telling you more than what your studio is telling you, then you should probably just go mix in the car. For real, get you an aux input, and go sit in the car with the aux cable and just mix, all right? Just do that if you trust the car more. But in all seriousness, there is some legit uses behind having multiple sets of speakers that you could listen to. If you can find two sets of speakers, ideally what I would suggest is to have one studio near field monitor set, right? And then you have another consumer grade speaker set, and that could be a boombox, it could be headphones, earbuds, a sound bars, a Bluetooth speaker, whatever it is that you can find. Just make sure that you're comfortable and familiar with it, that you listen to music on it. But that alternate set, what you want to do is ultimately balance between the two. Yeah, but make sure that you understand and listen to, again, it's so crucial that you understand both your studio monitors and your consumer grade speakers, that you understand how professionally mixed music sounds there. Sometimes it might sound like crap if you got a little Bluetooth crap speaker, but if Jason Joshua mixed it and it sound like crap on this Bluetooth speaker, then make sure that you're following in line with that you trusting what it's supposed to sound like, because you know it, okay? Mixing on more than one set of speakers can give you a real world idea of what your mix actually sounds like once you leave the studio. So I love to use my little Sony Boombox back here. I'll leave a link for that down in the description below. It's a really good tool in helping me to make really great mixing decisions outside of the high-end studio monitors. Because keep in mind, anyway, the people that you're mixing for, they're not going to be listening in an acoustically treated room, right? They're not going to be listening on some Focal near field studio monitors. They're going to be listening on the car radio, the earbuds, the Bluetooth speaker, all of that kind of stuff, right? So it's important that you use one of those type of things as a secondary way to check your mixes, especially if you don't have an accurate monitoring situation that you can trust. This last tip is going to complement all the other tips that we've gone over today, including using headphones to mix, mixing at varying levels, mixing with multiple sets of speakers. The last tip is going to be for you to use a reference mix. Yes, pick a reference mix. Possibly, most preferably in the style of the music that you're working on. What you want to listen for in that reference, you want to listen to how loud is the low end. You want to listen to how detailed is the mid-range. You want to listen to the clarity of the high end. And by listening to those three things in your studio environment with the reference, you can make sure that your mix matches up amongst the reference, right? Trust the reference. If you play the reference mix, and again, the reference mix is going to be something professional, something that you've listened to several times, something that you're comfortable with, and trust the mixer. Once you play it in your room, even if it sounds horrible in your room, even if the bass sounds too boomy in your room, even if the high end sounds a little dark in your room, make your mix match those characteristics. And then your mix will translate outside of your untreated studio environment. You have to trust the reference that you're choosing and make sure that your decisions are based on what the reference is telling you if you are working in an untreated environment. So whether you're monitoring on headphones, listening at varying levels, or even multiple sets of speakers, the reference mix is going to be one of your best friends in achieving a great sounding product, even if you don't acoustically treat your room. What do y'all think about this? I know some folks are going to be mad. Let me know down in the comments, man. Do you think you can make better mixes even if you're in a room that's untreated? I say it depends on your technique and it depends on the engineer. I'm Wavy Wayne from WavyProAudio.com. I'll leave some helpful links down in the description below. And make sure you subscribe to this channel, because the next video that I post on this channel, I'm going to show y'all my technique for cheating and EQing your speakers so that you can get the best sound even if you don't have the best sounding room. It's gonna take this up another notch, all right? I'm Wavy Wayne from WavyProAudio.com. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for being a subscriber, and be dope.